Hello, and before we actually start this video, I just want to say thank you to everybody for giving me positive feedback on the documentary I had made last episode. And just so you know, I'm creating a new one. This one's on mountain lions instead of wolves, so go watch that one. I'm in the process of making it right now. So until then, we have this video, and I now present to you how reptiles hibernate. Thank you, Zoology King from the past, and welcome to a brand new Zoology King Nature YouTube video. Today's topic, as already said, was how do reptiles hibernate? Well, there's basically two different types from my knowledge. There's the terrestrial way of hibernating, which is staying on land, and then there's the aquatic way of hibernating, which is staying underwater. We'll get to both of those, but as for right now, we need to really go over what is hibernation and why do animals do it. So, a lot of people probably already know what hibernation is. It's bears do it, obviously reptiles do it, a lot of animals do it, and it's basically a way to get away from the winter, because winter makes obviously it a lot harder to survive. It's colder, there's a lot of food gone, the weather's dangerous. It's just super hard to live in the cold and in the winter. So animals will hibernate, which is they will eat a ton of food before they go into a long sleep where their heart rate is like slowed a lot, and that way while they're in hibernation they can skip over the entire winter, over their food reserves and their slow breathing, and just emerge hopefully when it is spring or summer. And obviously the most well-known animal who does this is probably bears, but other animals who do this is the groundhog and obviously reptiles and a lot of other ones as well. So we'll get straight into terrestrial version of reptile hibernation right now. Terrestrial version of reptile hibernation is the version that most similarly connects with hibernation of bears and groundhogs and all other mammal hibernations. And the main difference between the reptile hibernation and all mammal hibernation is that reptiles definitely need to hibernate way sooner and more than the mammals, due to the fact that reptiles will literally die of the weather just if it's cold at all, because reptiles, as you probably already know, are cold-blooded. They can't produce their own heat like we can, like bears can, like big cats can, but they cannot produce their own heat, so they have to rely from the heat of the sun, heat of the weather, and when it's cold they cannot do that. So what reptiles do is they hibernate, and the way they do this is they find a rocky area or like a dirt-filled area, and then they find like a fault in that area and go inside that area. I said area a lot, but the reason that brings me to the reason that I wanted to film this video, because while I was digging up a rock pile for a garden, my dad and we uncovered 3 northern red-bellied snakes. I'll show the pictures now. And they were all together in this one area, in this rock pile. And we would dig it up and we would find them. And we were obviously taking the rocks, so we would just put them inside a grassy area, all heavily clamped together, how do I explain it? It was a grassy area, and we just put grass on top of it so that they stayed warm and they could continue hibernating onto the following winter through the rest of the snowy time. So we did that, and we noticed that they were very slow and sluggish, and they were not responding to the human touch very well, because we had picked them up and we had moved them, and they haven't done much than rather to just squiggle them around a little bit, but they weren't aggressive or scared at all. They were just sluggish. So we moved them into the area, and we realized that was the reptiles hibernating through the winter so that they could emerge in the spring and could survive fully through the winter. And now we will go on to the aquatic version, which is a little bit more complicated than the terrestrial version right about now. Now, like I said before, aquatic hibernation is a bit more complicated than the terrestrial type, which is basically the terrestrial type. They slow their heartbeat, they eat a ton. And the aquatic animals still have to eat a ton, and they still have to slow their heartbeat, but it's slowed a lot more, I believe. And I'll put the exact number, like beats per minute, with like the aquatic turtle, because the aquatic turtle and sometimes the garter snake, most of the time the garter snake does it terrestrially, but sometimes the garter snake and always the aquatic turtle will do aquatic hibernation, and I will put how many beats per minute down right here. And so basically, build-up's the same. They eat a ton, but then they go down to the bottom of like the lake or water area, the aquatic animals, the aquatic reptiles. They go down to the bottom, and then they to the muddy bottom, because at the bottom of the lake it doesn't freeze over. The top freezes over, the top shelf of ice that freezes over, but the entire lake does not freeze over. That's how we ice fish. That's how it goes. And the aquatic turtles and garter snakes go down to the bottom into and burrow a little bit into the mud, and they take their oxygen through the mud. Now, this cannot go on forever in some cases. Sometimes they cannot make it throughout the entire winter through that oxygen, and eventually they can die from it. Usually, though, this does not happen, and they usually can come through the winter, but sometimes it does. So I guess, is it worth the risk to hibernate underneath the water where there's less predators, or is it not worth the risk and just hibernate up above where there is predators, such as when me and my dad, we dug up those snakes. We obviously didn't want to hurt them. We moved them and let them hibernate again. But some animals would see that as an easy, quick meal, because they obviously did not know what was going on. So, I guess it's up to the animals, and that's just how they adapted. But apparently, except for the garter snake, which can choose whichever it wants. But that should be it for this Zoology King Nature YouTube video. Roll credits. Hey, you just watched my entire YouTube video. I'm going to put this down. Thank you. And if you liked it, leave a like. If you really liked it and you want to see other stuff like this, subscribe, and just let me know how you feel about it in the comments below. So thank you for watching, and see you next one, where I hopefully do a video on the mountain lion, and I hope you like it. So, see ya.